Welcome to episode 14 of The Jersey Boys.
What's up, everybody? I'm Ronnie A. here with the one and only Joey the Rash Silva.
Quesadich.
Hey!
What do you know? What do you know?
Quesadich.
What's the word?
See, Joey says Quesadich to all those people who don't know, but Joey was just at a convention, and he met Fabio. Where was he from?
Brindisi, Italy.
Brindisi.
And he gave a nice shout out to your father-in-law,
Richie B.
Brindisi. From Brindisi. How's that?
Check out Joe's Facebook. If anybody hasn't, you posted the video.
Well, it's on
of
the
him
Jersey
and
Boys.
Fabio. Oh, it's on
Facebook.
Jersey
Yeah,
Boys
it's on-
Facebook.
come
That's
on.
right. Yeah, you know what? Never
Come
mind
on.
Joe's Facebook. Don't worry about that thing. Right? That
Hey, but
thing.
we do need to get more followers on the Jersey Boys.
We'll get them. We're going to get them.
So everybody listening right now, you have to like us, and you have to spread the word and get all your family and friends to like the Jersey Boys.
And I'll tell you, it's going to be easy after today's show, which we're going to get into, but we have a very special
Big
guest.
show,
I'll tell you
big
about him a
show.
little bit later, so stick around. So if you want to talk about health and fitness and dieting, that's what today's show is all about, baby. It's all about a craze that's happening around the world. And I'm not even
Yes.
going to tell you what that craze is yet. I'm going to make you, you know what I mean? I'm going to make you stick around, make you think
Stick
about it.
around.
So I know you're sticking around.
Yeah, the producer,
He's
he's not going anywhere. He looks
into
good.
that.
He looks good.
He does. He does. He's running
Alex.
again. I know you running. We see it, bro. You look good, pal. You look good, man. So, Joe, like you said, we need likes, right? People follow us on Facebook. Don't forget to listen to us. You know, you can listen to us at www.thejerseyboys.com, dajerseyboys.com. That's our website. You can go to Facebook. And then, of course, for the podcast, you're going to check us out on Podbean, iTunes, Google Play, wherever it is that you choose to listen to podcasts. We're there. So take
We're
your
all over
pick.
the
It's that
place.
simple. Joey, last week's wow. That's last week's.
Last week's
was
It was a couple of weeks ago.
Correct. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. And
Yeah.
that's, you know what, guys, I don't tell you, I just we fell off the wagon a little bit. It happens,
bit.
right? Life gets in the way. But we're back. Jersey Boys are
By
back.
popular demand.
And we're back, and so is Lori looking for a new song.
That's
so,
right. We need a
Alex,
new
I hope
song.
you're working on it.
We
She's
can't
gonna be
use
dropping
Jaws,
the hammer.
right? We can't use na-na, 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 na-na.
I
can't
think we
use
should.
that.
I think we should use it.
Let them
and
come
deal,
after us.
Yes, deal with the repercussions.
Let's do something a little different. Like instead of Donna, would be like Donut.
Donut. What?
That sounds like Dunkin' Donuts, so Alex. Then we're going to have Dunkin' Donuts coming after
No
us.
donuts
Although,
tonight, but it's coming up.
Yes.
That's
And
right.
It's coming up. Carb
All
day,
right.
baby.
All right.
All right. So last week's word of the week, Joe, was DAWN.
That would be Dawn.
And if I was from the South, I would say,
Dawn.
and if so, Dawn would be a woman's name. Yeah,
Right, that's right.
But if I'm in the South, I would say Don, which is a.
It sounds like a guy's name, too, because D-O-N is pronounced Don.
Don.
And they would pronounce D-A-W-N as Don.
I can't
as
handle
well.
it.
So it would be very confusing
Don.
if we're dealing with somebody, and maybe some of our listeners out there from Alabama or anywhere outside of the New York metropolitan area.
Sure.
They'd probably say, this is my sister Dawn, or Don.
No, they would say,
I'm
"It's
sorry,
my sister
This
Don."
is my sister Don and my brother Don. I would be very confused.
I would be very confused at
Right?
that as well. I'll be looking left and right.
You got me confused already. It happened already.
It just can't work. It can't work. So
cahoots.
for those of you in the South, it's Dawn. It's Dawn. Don't no more. You don't have a sister Don. So now that we've explained, they never really thought about it like that until we just said. So you're welcome.
And listen,
You're
I gotta
welcome.
let you know that Marianne, she doesn't say it the right way either.
She doesn't.
She says it, Don and
She's
Don.
a Don. Yeah.
And it's
Marianne.
Lynchburg,
That's it.
Virginia.
Oh Lord,
the
help
Disney
us, baby.
princess.
So,
All
Joe, today is on the day of this recording, February 15th.
Yes.
Yesterday, what happened?
Yeah.
man?
So we definitely have to make mention of this. The tragedies that took place yesterday in Florida. Just the horrific shootings that took place down there. So our hearts go out to all the family and those who were affected by these tragedies. It's just a horrible situation, and
senseless, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's happened way too many times. I remember we had a show. We were talking about Vegas, and then there was Texas and California. I mean, I can't remember all of them. I mean, there's so many of them, and it just really, it's a tragic situation. And I just, as parents,
Right.
Could you imagine like having your kids go to school and then you're getting that kind of a phone call? Or you're watching, something on TV and all of a sudden the news comes on and there's this report that there's a shooting and it's a shooting at your kid's school.
No.
I mean, it's horrible. And, I know there's a lot of stuff going on out there right now as far as, what should be done, who should be doing what. But I can tell you right now that it comes back to the only answer to all of this is Jesus. I'm telling
true.
You got to have
because it's a hard
God.
issue. And a lot of people will look
It's a
at
hard
this and
issue.
say, how could God allow this to happen? And again, look, guys, we don't sit here and preach on this show. You know that, but you know what our hearts are, and you know what you know how much we put our faith in Christ. And I'll tell you, this is a heart issue. This is not a fact that, God allows something or God's so terrible that he lets this happen. How could there be a God? This is, we live in a
fallen
world.
We
man.
live in a fallen world, and there's a lot of, evil out there.
Ugh.
And, it's been going on since the beginning of time.
Man.
So
we pray for each and every one of those family members out there, those teachers, those first responders, the people who had to witness that, man. It's
and thank you to the responders, the teachers. You heard about some of the
jumping in
teachers
front,
that
taking
actually
bullets.
gave their lives,
Yeah.
to protect some of these kids.
True heroes.
True heroes. And then, law enforcement that were there, and just everybody who took a part in trying to help control that situation. So
we would just ask all of our listeners, same thing. Please keep them in your prayers. Just pray for those family members. That'd be great.
absolutely.
We're gonna take a quick break now, and when we come back, our very special guest, Kenny the Brain Freeman. All right, everybody, we are back, and I am extremely excited to introduce to you our guest. So Kenny the Brain Freeman, I mean, that's a nickname that's earned, and I'll tell you how he earned it. So Kenny is a Rutgers grad, class of 2004, but of course he finished the semester early because why would you? Right? Why would you spend a full 4 years at Rutgers?
Oh, so wait. So 6 years is not like good?
No. That's like
me. 6 years is not good.
6.
I think it was 6 years.
Was
Maybe
this-
it was 7. I don't even remember now.
Remember
For
that
me.
movie, Better Off Dead?
Wait, did I
Lane?
even graduate?
That's overrated. Lane, I've been in this high school for 7.5 years, and I'm no dummy. So Kenny finishes college in 3.5 years instead of 4. He's a grad at Rutgers, class of 2004, but he's not just a grad in 3.5 years. He finished first in his class of 2000 with a 4.0 GPA. Kenny is a CSCS, Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist. Now, mind you, this is all coming after, because when he was in college studying finance, he went to work immediately on Wall Street. So he worked at Deutsche Bank. He was there for 3 years. And I think Kenny really fell in love with, entrepreneurialism and investing. Kenny invested in a pizzeria. He loves real estate, got his real estate license. So he's a current realtor. He's an actual investor in real estate. He owns a laundromat. He's a teacher. He's a professor at the college teaching financial modeling and evaluation. Right? Am I right? Yeah, I'm right. You can talk.
I feel really
they'll hear
stupid
the
now.
whisper.
Don't you, Alex?
Well,
I feel
that's
stupid.
what'll happen. So you have to understand, when you're in a room with Kenny the Brain Freeman, you inherently are stupid.
Yeah.
But that's okay. It's
But
not
he
a
doesn't
bad
make
thing.
you feel that way. That's
not,
a good thing.
Not at all. That's the funny thing. So everyone knows Brian Regan, right? We all talk about my brother-in-law Brian Regan.
Not the comedian.
Not the comedian, because you're funny, Brian. But so what happens is Brian says what Kenny's in a room and he says whatever he's saying, and everybody else just nods their head, but no one has a clue what he's saying. But Kenny thinks it's normal conversation. That's just Kenny. So Kenny, congratulations on all your achievements, brother. It's actually disgusting because he's
I want
over.
to steal a few of those.
Yeah, just a couple.
Add them to my resume.
So on top of that, being a CSCS, right, Certified Strength and Conditioning trainer, what is it, right? Specialist, right? Not just a trainer, specialist. That's what Kenny does.
Right.
Kenny introduced us to the ketogenic diet.
And so many people across this country, probably the world, are doing this program.
It's amazing. And it's not brand new either, Joe.
No.
Like, keto's been around, but there's a craze going on right now. So we thought, since we've been on it now for quite some time and we've been seeing it all over the place, and we go, we're on YouTube and we watch guys like Jason Whitrock and Thomas DeLauer, and these guys are like, big time trainers and whatnot. They got great stuff to say. Kenny dissects this thing, to what it is, the scientific, physiological way this stuff works. So that's why Kenny's here. We're gonna talk keto. So first and foremost, Kenny, welcome.
Thank you for having me, guys. I'm happy to be here.
We love having you.
All right, thank you.
It's like coffee talk.
Ask him a question.
So explain to those out there who don't really understand or know what this is.
Okay.
A little brief overview.
So the term ketogenic, keto stands for ketones, which are actually produced when the body metabolizes fat. So essentially the way it works is this. Your body wants to run off of sugar. So if you eat something that has sugar in it, your body's going to use that first. If your body doesn't have any blood sugar available at the time, it's going to go for glycogen. Glycogen is how sugar is stored in the muscles and the liver. And it's primarily the liver where it's accessible. Now, if you can get through your blood sugar and your glycogen, the next thing that your body's going to go after is body fat. So essentially, the ketogenic diet is where your body is operating off of body fat rather than blood sugar and glycogen. So the difficulty is getting to the point where you are actually in a ketogenic state running off of ketones. Because once you start having too many carbohydrates, that's what bumps you out. So essentially you want to have 30 grams or less of net carbohydrates. So that's total carbohydrates less fiber per day. And that should get you into ketosis. But if you're still not in ketosis, then you could go down to usually 20 net grams of carbs will get you there.
All right, so you say ketosis. So everything that you just said, the actual being in ketosis is exactly what?
So being in ketosis is your body is functioning off of body fat. And the genius of that is you hold, right, and store thousands of calories of body fat. So if you think about it like this, right, there's 3,500 calories in 1 pound. All right. So if you look at 400 grams of glycogen are stored in your liver. Okay. So that's like the max. That's about 1,600 calories. So if you're running a marathon, you've ever heard someone say they hit the wall or the bonk, that means they've run through all of their glycogen and now their body's transitioning going into ketosis. So if you can run off of body fat, you have literally tens of thousands of calories that you can access for abundant energy.
Okay. So how does one get to that point?
Okay, so the process typically takes the average person anywhere from a week to 10 days when they first do it. And that's really the challenge because people continually bump themselves out of ketosis. Also, mentally, it's very difficult to get into ketosis because you almost feel like you have the flu.
Yeah.
But essentially what you have to do is have a macronutrient breakdown, 75% fat, 20% protein, and 5% or less of carbohydrates, and that will get you into a state of ketosis.
Okay. So then what's the best way to track that? Like, is there like an app that you can follow or something like that? Because how do I know I've consumed like 5% of the, what was it, the 5%? The carbs.
Yeah, the carbs. So ultimately, the app that I always recommend is MyFitnessPal.
Right.
A lot of people are familiar with it. Bing. Yeah, like you could just
that's right.
literally
Gave them a plug.
Yeah, you could just literally scan barcodes of your favorite foods onto it and it'll download all of the nutritional information. Other than that, if you literally type EGG for egg, it'll come up with a bunch of different options so you can choose it. It's like, oh, it's a Land O'Lakes egg or what have you. But that'll help you keep track. And the biggest thing is people have the misconception that fat makes you fat. Fat does not make you fat. Carbohydrates make you fat. Fat does not make you fat.
So what happens like in that first week? You know, I'm doing really good and I'm telling everybody, you know, I'm keeping track, you know, what I'm consuming, what I'm eating every day. But when no one's looking, I go out and I take a little bit of sugar, like a candy bar, like a little half of a candy bar. Is that going to knock me out?
So you'll be out of ketosis until your body burns through that sugar. And the issue is if you're constantly going in and out, you're actually going to drive yourself crazy because you'll start running off of sugar again. And then you'll go back into that phase where your body's transitioning, just like the bonk in marathon running. You'll go back into that again.
Well, I know that. 'Cause I've done 2 marathons.
It's referred to as the keto flu, that feeling that you get. So really what you want to do is just bust through it.
Yep.
And then you'll get to that point where you'll say, okay, I'm fully in ketosis.
So what are some of the best resources? Like someone who's listening right now, they really appreciate what you're saying, but where do they go? What's the best, like, a YouTube? I know Ronnie had mentioned a few of the people that we have followed on YouTube and things like that, but what do you recommend?
I mean, there's some really good resources. John Kiefer, Dangerously Hardcore, he does a tremendous job with diet in general. He focuses on a thing called carb backloading, but the premise is based on getting into ketosis first. So he's a phenomenal resource. There's another great book, Keto Clarity. That's a book that I would recommend. Very simple, easy to understand for a layperson to just like get it in a very simple fashion. But I mean, even bodybuilders have been looking at keto type diets for a while. There was the anabolic diet by Dr. Mauro Di Pasquale, and that was essentially ketogenic for 5 days and then a carb up for 2 days. So essentially what actually happened, what got me into it was John Kiefer, he was doing the anabolic diet and he was training as a bodybuilder. And one night he just couldn't take it anymore. He ended up having a ton of Krispy Kreme donuts and he figured like he was done. He was going to lose the competition, the whole 9 yards. And he woke up the next morning and he was jacked.
Yeah.
So that's, one of the things we'll get into is that whole carb up idea. If you go ketogenic for too long and then you don't reintroduce carbs for a very short window of time, all of the hormones that cause you to burn body fat, namely leptin, IGF-1, which is insulin growth factor, testosterone, all of those hormones are going to attenuate, meaning reduce, and they won't come back unless and until you have the carbohydrates.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's another aspect of it. So there's a lot of resources out there in terms of the ketogenic diet. I would say, definitely look on, YouTube, Google, sources like that. What I would encourage people, though, is before you do it, definitely consult, doctor, physician. And the thing that I always recommend is this. Go to your doctor, get a physical, get blood results, because that's where you're going to be blown away the most when you see your cholesterol plummet and you tell your doctor that you're eating 75% of your diet's fat. A lot of doctors, only 3% of their curriculum is in nutrition, and they're just amazed at the results from the ketogenic diet.
All right, so question on that one. So you go to the doctor. This is obviously, you consult the physician, start this diet, then you're going to go and you're going to find out that your cholesterol dropped, right? And you tell them that 75% fat, but there's all different kinds of fats. So with that being said, if my cholesterol is going to drop, I'm assuming that means I should probably stay away from things like butter and stuff like that. Is that what you mean?
So that's actually not necessarily the case. You want to have a bunch of different kinds of fats. So there's polyunsaturated fat, there's monounsaturated fat, and saturated fat. So saturated fat is what we find in, meat, organ meats, also, like bacon, that's saturated fat, butter as well. But actually what's interesting is human body fat is actually the equivalent of 50% butter and 50% olive oil in terms of its composition. So the idea of, you are what you eat, so to speak, you want to try to have a similar breakdown in terms of fats. The one thing I would caution you is not to just stick primarily to saturated fat. You also want to have the monounsaturated fats. So you want to have fats from things like avocados, olive oil, but you can have a lot of saturated fat and still lose body fat because, again, Where fat becomes dangerous is when your body has high blood sugar because you're functioning off of carbohydrates. So now that fat is just circulating in your blood, and that's where blood cholesterol, blood lipids, in terms of the measurements, come from. So if you're now running off of fat, all of those lipids that are typically floating around your blood, your body's actually running off of.
All right, so I got to go back, though, real quick here. I got to go back to the human body.
Yeah.
The human body. The human body is what?
Okay. So body fat in terms of human body, in terms of its composition, it's the equivalent of 50% butter and 50% olive oil.
So if you're doing the keto program, eating a human body would be good.
Yeah,
It might be the cannibal diet.
Yeah, there you go.
I felt like a missionary in a pot. That one's for you, Richie B.
All right, so wait a minute then. So if the human body, the fat inside of a human body, its composition is the equivalent of 50% butter and 50% olive oil. So are you telling me that most human bodies are basically Italian? Hey, that's all. Keto, that's why it ends in a vowel. So this diet is an Italian diet, for those who want to know. Right?
Vito Corleone. What was his?
That's it. He was keto.
No, what was the name of his? No, it was Genko. Genko oil. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Until they're pasta.
All right. So now.
All right. So I was going to say, go ahead.
That leads us to this.
Go ahead.
We're in our program, and now it's time for Carb Day.
So
we're going to go to, where are we going to go on our Carb Day?
Oh, man.
Plug again. Come on.
Tommy's Taste
Italy.
Italy. So we talked about that before, Kenny. We talked about how, like, we actually did a show on our Carb Day at Tommy's, which was amazing. I mean, it's
and if you haven't seen that,
kinda like
everybody
heaven.
out there, go back and that's on episode like
probably like 8, 9,
8 or
something
9.
Like that.
Yeah,
It was
on
amazing.
YouTube. Check it out.
Yeah, it's video on that one. So that's the big thing. So I think a lot of people on the keto diet, myself included, we get nervous because you start going for so long and you're like, I'm doing great. I can't, carb day. No, I don't want to do it. Do I do it very little? Do I go buck wild? How long do I do it for? Is it one day? So my question for you to tell everybody listening right now is, when do they do it? How long do they do it for? What can they eat? And then how long before their next one? And I'm sure that might be different, but give us your opinion.
Sure. So the initial weight loss that you have on a ketogenic diet is water weight. Why? Because for every molecule of glycogen, all right, carbohydrates essentially stored in your body, you store 3 molecules of water. So as your body gets rid of all of that, you're losing a lot of water. So initially, you're going to lose a lot of weight and people get really excited. Then after that, you're in ketosis, you're losing body fat. And the thought process is, oh, I'm losing body fat. So if I stay on this ketogenic diet for as long as humanly possible, I'll just continue to burn body fat. And that's not the case because your hormones, again, the fat-burning hormones, namely leptin, testosterone, IGF-1, which is insulin growth factor, those are going to decrease, even your thyroid hormones as well. So what's going to boost that back up is the reintroduction of carbohydrates. Now, the interesting thing is this. The enzyme that your body uses to process carbohydrates, it goes away when you don't consume carbohydrates. So what's interesting is, and this comes from John Kiefer's Carb Night, when you reintroduce those carbohydrates, your body is going to actually say, what the heck are these? And so you're not going to have it for so long that your body gets used to having carbs again. So typically people that have their carb night, they'll notice their body temperature increases because your metabolism increases to burn all of those carbohydrates. So typically the recommendation is to have a carb night. Start at like 4 p.m. and go up to 2 hours before bed, just because ultimately if you do that, you won't have indigestion or anything like that. But my recommendation is this, try to space out all the different things that you want, write down all the different things that you want over the course of a week. So instead of having a bag of Snickers bars, have a Snickers bar. Instead of having a whole pizza, have a slice of pizza. Because what'll happen is if you do it all in one fell swoop and you eat a whole pizza, you're only going to have a very small period of time that you consume carbohydrates and you're going to be stuffed for the rest of the night. And what you really want to do is you want to spike your insulin. You want to have it so that those carbs are there for a significant period of time so that you do get that hormonal spike, you do get that insulin spike, and then you're able to go back to ketosis several days later when you go back on the ketogenic diet.
Oh, well. First of all, I want to go back and say, so at 4 o'clock, let's say I start at 4 o'clock. It's best to start with the sugar, right?
Yes. You want to spike your insulin as fast as possible. So that's when you want to do things like candy, sugary stuff. So you don't want to start out with like pasta.
I want to ask about that, the sugar, because we've done that. You know, we have like the candy bars, like we have the almond, you know, whatever it may be, that I like.
Yeah,
all the
Almond
different
Joy,
kinds, almond
whatever.
joy.
Yeah, rock and roll.
But the thing is it better to have like maybe like orange juice or like fruit versus having a candy bar?
So the difference with that though is fruit has fructose. All right, so fructose is a sugar that basically gets processed in the liver. So you're not going to get the same benefits that you are from simple sugars. So you'd want glucose.
Okay.
That's what you really want to focus on.
Yeah.
So ultimately, the different types of sugars are going to have different impacts. So you want glucose, dextrose, the basic like table sugars.
Yeah, because that's what we had a discussion about. I know Ronnie and I talked about it once. We're like, man, we feel like after like 4 or 5 hours of eating like the candy and the cake and the pizza, you feel like you kind of feel bad. Like you feel like run down. So I was thinking maybe it's better to have more of the fruit, but based on what you're saying,
Yeah,
it
no,
wouldn't be.
I would stay away from the fruit
Okay.
because and you know, again, if you search the stuff that John Kiefer talks about, you know, basically fructose is it's bypassed, so it's just processed in the liver. So you're not going to have the same impact that you will from simple sugars. What I will tell you in terms of how you feel, if you're going to have pizza, if you had like gluten-free, you're going to feel better. I know like if I have like cookies, I'll get like Tate's. They have gluten-free cookies. They're made with rice flour. So you still get all that great cookie taste, but there's no artificial stuff. That's the other thing.
I guess that's what it is.
Yeah,
I'm
if
looking
you're
at is the
having
artificial stuff.
yeah, like colors, dyes, you know, stuff you can't pronounce, like 50 different ingredients, you know, those are the types of things that are going to be bad choices.
Yeah.
So if you can have something, the more natural, the better, the less, you know, crud that's in there. So if you're going to have ice cream, for example, have like Breyers. Where it's like 5 ingredients, very simple. There's not like gums and dyes and, you know, processed oils and stuff like that. You want to try to keep it as natural as possible.
Not the Stop and Shop dollar store ice cream.
No. I mean, you could have like a gelato. You could have like a gelato. That would be good. You
All
know,
right, there you
like
go.
high quality. That way we keep it Italian. You know. Or you know, but that's really the thing. So you want to stay away from things like high fructose corn syrup because again, fructose, fruit, same type of thing. So you want to really like stick to healthier things, but that are sugar.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of
What
sense.
about this though? So, Joel, the idea of fruit. I love fruit, and that's one of the things that I miss most on this. So if we can't, and I want to just clarify it. So if we got to start out with those simple sugars to spike the insulin and get things rocking, and I sustain, right? Like you said, you want to have a carb night. So I go from 4 to 8, 4 to 9, whatever it is, depends on the time I go to bed. Is it okay later on for me to have a piece of fruit? That's cool, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's not that fruit's the end of the world. The problem is people try to do like a healthy, you know, carb night. So they eat fruit and, you know, stuff that's actually good for you. And it doesn't have that hormone spiking, that insulin spiking impact that people want or need in order to get, you know, back into ketosis, back to fat burning mode. So it's one of those things where you're trying to, you know, quote unquote, do the right thing, but you're actually hurting yourself by doing that. So if you have all the candy and stuff, yeah, and you want some pineapple later on, go for it. But remember, a lot of fruit has fiber. So that's going to slow down. You know, if you think about it, what you want is you want to spike that insulin and then bring it back down. All right, spike it, bring it back down. So you wouldn't want to have oatmeal on carb night. All right, so there's glycemic index, glycemic load. Glycemic index is how much does it spike. So table sugar has a glycemic index of 100. Glycemic load is how long it spikes for. So something like oatmeal has a very high glycemic load, low glycemic index. So it doesn't spike your insulin real high, but it keeps it elevated for a long period of time. So you want the things that are going to spike it, bring it back down. So potato chips, cookies, candy, stuff like that.
what about the pastas? Like, it's dinner time. What about that? Like, we're not gonna have that for dinner, right?
Yeah. So you want to start it out, spike it, and then when you have your meal, again, go with the same premise. You don't want to have like a big bowl of pasta. You want to have pasta with bread and, dessert. You want to have all the different things. You want to make sure that you don't bog yourself down early on and then you end up just having that and you don't spike it enough for long enough to get that hormonal impact that you need to get those fat burning hormones back up and running.
Yeah, I think the mistake that I've made is like, let's say we started at 4:00. I like pig out. I'm like a Gavone right in the very beginning. I'm like, boom.
Yep.
And like within 30 minutes, I've eaten like a whole box of, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm feeling lousy.
Yeah, and that's why you want to honestly, like, that's one of the benefits of doing it with other people. So I know if I have a carb night, you could go to a pizza place and get a slice of pizza. But if you're doing it like you're with your wives and you ordered a small pizza and everybody has a slice, everybody gets that taste, but that's different from you sitting there and eating a whole pizza.
Right.
That's why it's always good to have a few different, things in mind. Like if you went out alone and you had like an appetizer, a pasta dish, it's like you're done for the night.
Yeah.
You sat there for 40 minutes and you're not going to be able to eat anything for the rest of the night. So that's going to be a problem.
All right, so beverages. This is a big one for me. So I love what I love most about the carb night is I get to have a beer, right, or a glass of wine, and I love that. So a couple of questions on this front is number one, I heard you say before about doing the right thing and the cookies that are made with like rice flours and stuff. So should I then also be wary and say, all right, I'm only going to have a Michelob Ultra, or am I looking to go to some kind of a deep heavy lager? And if it's not even a deep heavy lager, could I have like a shock top or something? I love a citrusy beer. That's one. So you answer that one, and then for my vino, can I enjoy more than one glass of wine throughout that time of the carb day, or is that wrong too because of what you were talking about the insulin spikes?
Yeah, so ultimately when it comes to alcohol, you don't want to use carb night as an excuse to have like a case of beer. But if you were saying, I'm going to have a couple beers or a couple glasses of wine through that time frame, that's totally fine. And I would encourage you to stay away from a Michelob Ultra. If you really wanted to, have that Michelob Ultra during your keto time because it's 2.6 grams of carbs.
So that's okay?
Yeah, so that's something that you would do. But remember, alcohol stops fat burning, all right? So alcohol is a poison, all right? So ultimately, when you consume alcohol, if you had alcohol and an apple, all right? If you had alcohol and an apple, your body is going to store the apple and burn the alcohol, all right? So everything changes once you have alcohol. You're going to change all the different hormonal profiles. So if you were going to have alcohol, I would say beer or wine. I wouldn't be a huge fan of like hard liquor, and in terms of quantity,
No fireballs.
Yeah. So try to like keep it to like moderation. Don't use it as an opportunity to just like go completely bananas, because now you're impacting your liver and detoxification more so than spiking anabolic hormones. Like if your goal was to be anabolic in general, alcohol is not going to get you there.
So I got an idea. This is what you do, Ronnie. When we go out or we come here, what you do is take your wine glass and fill it with Welch's grape juice. How's that? That'll spike it, right? Ding, ding, ding. Welch's, send us the check.
Alex, cue the crickets. Because on carb night, baby, I want my wine, bro. And let me tell you something. So me and Lori went out for Valentine's Day last night, right? And I'm staring.
Where did you go?
Where did we go? Cucina Calandra.
Oh.
Nice.
Oh, so in
46, Fairfield. Yeah, because we dropped Dominic off at
give
baseball.
Give them a plug.
Another one. You're welcome. I got to tell you, really good. Really good. And we were able to eat keto, except for I remember I called you about the crust on the bread, and you gave me my free pass. So I wanted to eat. This whole loaf came to the table loaded with olive oil, butter, garlic powder. Oh, my goodness. It was incredible. So I'm sitting there. That's what I was talking to Lori about. Like on keto, like I want to sit there on keto night, and I want to have that, and then I want to eat on carb night, and I want to eat the other stuff that we eat when we're typically keto, like the pepperonis and the supersides and the prosciuttos and the cheeses with my wine. So just to clarify this, because I'm dummy. I want to know, is it I'm okay to have 2 glasses of wine throughout, right? That's a yes. Kenny's shaking his head, yes, okay. And I agree with you. Listen, I would not use that as an excuse, and I don't, right? Like I'm not a guy who gets drunk. I enjoy the flavor of my wine, and I want to have it with my dinner. So that's when I would use it for. All right, so bottom line is we got our bodies into ketosis. Then we had an awesome carb night, which is a lot of fun. Now, like you said, it takes most people like 7 to 10 days before they're in ketosis. Then they have their carb night. After my carb night, what happens? How long before I'm back in ketosis? What do I need to do? Is there anything I need to do differently? And how long before my next carb night?
So how long before your next carb night varies. You know, once you've been doing this long enough, you can have the carb nights sooner. So what tends to happen is like people's bodies get so in tune after doing it for, you know, say like 2-3 months. You know, normally I would say have the carb night every, 7 days. But you can move it 5 days. If you're working out intensely, you could even do it maybe 3 days. But really, like for the best results, 5 days, 5 to 7 days typically. But after your carb night, that next day, you're going to probably notice, water retention. All right. Again, from the carbs, those water molecules that are being stored with that carbohydrate load that you brought in there. But really what you'd want to do if you want to burn through those as quickly as possible, if you could, you'd want to work out on that carb day. So that your body, like it goes towards your muscles ultimately. But if not, that next day, you wake up in the morning, you have your cup of coffee, go for a walk. Walking is one of the ways that you can get into ketosis very quickly. So you basically want to burn through all that stuff that you did as quickly as possible, so that you could get back into ketosis.
And then how about the salt?
Yeah, so there's ketogenic salts. Essentially, you can kind of like hack your body. So there's 2 types of ketones. There's acetyl-CoAcetate and beta-hydroxybutyrate. So the ketogenic salts are beta-hydroxybutyrate. And those, by consuming those, it'll trick your body into ketosis. So it'll basically bypass any, blood sugar, carbohydrates, glycogen, and go right into ketosis. So that your body will be functioning off of ketones rather than those carbohydrates, stored glycogen, etc. Okay. So there's a way that you can kind of like hack it, so to speak.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
So I got a question. So now we're in the week. And we have the fat bombs. Mm-hmm. Can you explain to our audience what a fat bomb is?
Sure.
Fat bombs.
Yeah, so ultimately...
Crickets. For you on that one.
One of the big challenges... with the keto diet, surprisingly, is people stop being hungry. So what ends up happening is they consume too few calories. And again, the wrong mentality, like that less calories is going to get me to burn more body fat. It's actually going to kill your metabolism. So you want to still consume the same amount of calories so that you can at least, function. But what happens is towards the end of the day, when you're in ketosis, your body's functioning off body fat. You're not getting hypoglycemic anymore. You're not getting lightheaded. So you'll go through the day and be like, oh my gosh, I missed a meal. Oh my gosh, I haven't eaten since breakfast. So the fat bombs are essentially, kind of mostly desserts typically, but it's a way to get a large amount of fat very quickly. So one of the ones that, I know Ronnie and Lori do is they'll do these like almond butter or peanut butter cups where, but yeah, stay away from, so almond butter, and then it'll be like cocoa powder, coconut oil, butter, and, xylitol so that you don't have any sort of insulin impact. And it's a way to get in that fat or, deal with your sweet tooth as well and get a lot of fat in a very like short period of time without just like sitting there and eating like a stick of butter.
All right. Now that's perfect. That's really helpful. But how about with the sweet tooth?
Mm-hmm.
I really don't like diet soda.
Yeah.
But occasionally, because I can't have a glass of soda. I'll go with a Diet Coke.
Yeah.
But it's really not that healthy for you. So what are your thoughts on diet drinks?
Yeah, so diet drinks in general are just something you want to stay away from. The issue ultimately comes in where you have artificial sugars. So there's certain sugars, there's sugar alcohols that are used, like erythritol, stuff like that. Stevia is okay. That's natural. But some of the sugar alcohols that are utilized, your body can't process them. So what ends up happening is you get stomach distress. Like I actually bought, to my demise, sugar-free chocolate. And I didn't put two and two together and recognize that there were sugar alcohols, namely erythritol, that was in there. I had like the worst stomach upset, like ridiculous. So that's the one thing that you want to be careful of is artificial sugars and sugar alcohol. Stevia is one thing, that is natural. Xylitol as well, is okay. But the different sugar alcohols you got to stay away from, and just anything artificial in general.
So what would you recommend? Like what's out there that, other than just water, that I want to have something sweet. I want to drink something.
Yeah, well, the other thing is, carbonated beverages also like tend to cause, like gas, stuff like that. I mean, me personally, what I do is vitamin water. They have vitamin water zero. That's one that I tend to go for. You have to be careful. There's one, the triple X one actually has crystalline fructose, so you want to stay away from that one. But, make sure it has stevia. And that's what I go for. So drinks that have stevia in them are okay. You can definitely do that. And there's also, you can find them. There's no like one that I can think of off the top of my head, but there's different drops that you can put into water that they're like stevia based so that you can like sweeten up the water. Another thing that you could do, which is another simple thing, they have the types of containers for the waters where you could put fruit in there, and then like the water is like quote unquote fruit infused. It's not like you're taking the fruit and smashing it up and getting all that sugar in there. So that's another avenue that you could go, like
a sangria.
Berries. Yeah.
That's on a carb day, baby. I like it.
Or you get your communion wine.
Roaches again.
Welch's.
Joey loves Welch's, man. All right, so why don't we give them maybe like top 5 or more, roughly? Why don't you give everybody an idea of, foods that they can go to? Like what's a go-to for you, for those fats?
Yeah, I mean, I love avocados, so guacamole is always a go-to. I'm a big fan of eggs, but you have to be careful with eggs because they have a lot of protein. So you want to make sure that those eggs are cooked in, butter, coconut oil, olive oil, stuff like that. But typically if you had like a salad with, cheese and nuts and, guacamole or avocado, olives and throw some steak on there, some salmon. So, salmon's great because it has omega-3 fats, which are phenomenal for you. They're polyunsaturated fats. So yeah, I would say like, what's my average day like, doing keto. So you're talking about like bacon and eggs for breakfast, but, they're going to be doused in, coconut oil, butter. You got to make sure that you have the fats going there.
But you got to go with the bacon, though. You got to be careful with the bacon that you buy because when we were on a trip down to the Breakers, another plug, they had this great breakfast buffet. But the bacon,
brown sugar.
Yeah.
It tastes really good. It's like, wow, I can't believe this is ketogenic, and it's because it's not. It is unbelievable.
Right.
Yeah, so you have to be careful. That's the big, caveat with eating out. I think I might have told you guys before, I went to IHOP one time and I went to go order an omelet, and on the menu it said that it was 1,100 calories. So I asked the waitress, I was like, how is it possible that this is 1,100 calories? Like an egg is 60 to 70 calories, so it's like not possible.
Right.
So she called the manager and she was like, I'll find out. So the manager said, oh, well, we make them fluffy by putting our pancake batter in there. So that would definitely blow you out of ketosis. So that's the thing you got to be really careful of when you eat out, because most of the sauces, to thicken them up, they put flour in them. So you're going to have to be like really, really careful with that stuff. So what I do is, like, if I was out like an Italian restaurant, I would get zuppa de pesce, but I would get it over spinach. And then, you know, I would put olive oil on it and throw some butter on it, stuff like that.
Now, you had said nuts. Peanuts are not good.
Yeah,
right?
stay away
Peanuts
from
aren't good.
Yeah,
Cashews aren't good.
Yeah, so peanuts, cashews, stay away from those. Almonds are a good choice. Macadamia nuts are probably the best choice because they have a ton of fat in them.
Walnuts.
Walnuts, very good as well. You could go with some seeds. You could go with like pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds as well.
How about if there's salt on that? On the pumpkin seeds? Or
Yeah,
on
ultimately you'd want to, if you could, you would want to stick with, you know, raw to the extent possible, because that's going to be the most beneficial for you. You know, I mean, it has enzymes in there. All the stuff that's good about those nuts goes away once you roast them. So it just changes the whole profile. So yeah, I would say the ones that I stick to: macadamia nuts, walnuts, almonds, stuff like that. So you could kind of make your own like trail mix kind of thing, or like a granola type mix without, you know, carbs.
Yeah. And then the other thing too is with olives, going back to what Ronnie had said about olives, I have found myself sometimes eating a whole can of olives.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. Ultimately, what happens is when you don't have the carbohydrates and you lose all of that water weight, you lose electrolytes with it. So a lot of times where people have difficulties on the keto diet is they say, oh my gosh, I'm getting headaches, and they're electrolyte depleted. So you need to make sure that you definitely pump in electrolytes. I actually found a great product. It's called Reviver. It's technically to prevent hangovers, but it has electrolytes in it. It's just pills. You could get it on Amazon. I've been using that. That's phenomenal. You know, there's None, which are these tabs that you can get. Marathon runners use them. You drop it in a water and it has electrolytes in it. Another thing I do, make sure you salt your foods. So you sea salt. But also another thing that I use is light salt. So light salt is actually for people with high blood pressure, because it's not just sodium. So it's potassium and magnesium in addition to sodium. So that way you can have the electrolytes that you would normally lose. So when you tell me, or other people tell me like, oh my gosh, I'm craving salt, that's actually your body telling you like, dude, I need salt. So you need salt. I mean, at the cellular level, to get fluids into and out of your cells, called a sodium potassium pump. If you don't have sodium, potassium, magnesium, I mean, it's needed for your body's electrical system. So you'll have points where you crave salt. Another thing with the ketogenic diet, which is recommended, when you have water, don't just have water. You know, try to have water that either has electrolytes in it, which you can find at the store, or even put salt in your water. Like take a salt shaker and put a little bit of salt in your water so that you can have the electrolytes and not be depleted.
The vitamin water doesn't have the electrolytes in it, right?
No, it does.
It does? So that's good then.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's
what was the vitamin water you said not to get?
So yeah, Triple X
Triple
has
X?
crystalline fructose in it. That's the one you want to stay away from. But, you know, always check, because it should have stevia, but some of them have a little bit of erythritol in it. That's what you want to stay away from, the sugar alcohols. But ultimately, yes, those are good choices to get in those electrolytes. And look, there's a ton of different waters out there, like electrolyte waters. I mean, you can get like store brand, it'll say like quote unquote electrolyte enhanced water. All it is they put minerals in the water. They put like those mineral salts in there. So that's another thing you could do.
Good to know.
So I've been, I think, making a mistake based on our conversation the other night. So me and you were talking about cheese, right? We're like, you got to be careful. And I love it. And I love it. And even more so now, because I'm like, well, I can have cheese on keto. And especially when, like, I want a snack. I'm like, man, I just need a little something. And you look around, and it's tough to snack on keto, you know, and that's why meal prep is so important. So I'll reach in and just grab something, a little fresh mozzarella. I might grab a slice of provolone, whatever it is that I got in there. So can you educate us on which cheeses to have and what should I have with the cheese if I'm not supposed to have it alone? Because I think that's what you were saying the other day.
Yeah, so another mistake people make on a keto diet is they have too much protein. Protein is going to get you out of ketosis because that protein, through a process called gluconeogenesis, that protein gets broken down in amino acids, which then get broken down into glucose. So that's going to throw you out of ketosis if you have too much protein. But what Ronnie was referring to is if you're just crushing cheese, you want to make sure you have higher fat cheeses. So stay away from softer cheeses, stay away from goat cheeses, sheep, stuff like that. You want to have hard cheeses. And then another thing too is if you're having cheese, I know it's going to sound crazy, but if you had a few slices of cheese, you'd take grass-fed butter, like a Kerrygold, something like that, and like actually like wrap some cheese around like a little bit of butter, and that'll definitely be ketogenic. It'll satisfy you, and it won't be too much protein. It'll be enough fat to keep you in ketosis.
All right.
Butter on the cheese.
Yeah.
And
Crazy,
so,
right?
say a hard cheese again. What is that?
Okay, so hard cheese. So you're talking about cheddar. You're talking about manchego. Gruyere. So if you go to the store, you can. Yeah, Asiago's okay. But anytime you get to the softer cheeses, so fresh mutts, that one's kind of like on the edge. Like when I do fresh mutts, I'll do it with olive oil. So I'm still having fat with it on top of it. So you want to stay with harder cheeses and also look at the fat content. So you'll see like 1 ounce of these harder cheeses will also have a substantial amount of fat. They'll have like, 6 to 12 grams of fat.
So not the Kraft singles.
No. Yeah. Stay
I
away
heard
from
that you can take the
processed
Kraft
stuff.
singles and like take like a torch and light that sucker up and it won't burn.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a Twinkie, it lasts forever.
Yeah.
I don't know. So, all right. I also heard that if you're a guy,
Yep.
eating too much cheese is not good because it has some kind of effect on the testosterone levels. I don't know. Is that
Okay,
wrong?
so I mean, ultimately, how testosterone is produced is through cholesterol. So ultimately, the cholesterol that you get from, meats, animal products, that's going to be the basis for your body producing testosterone. Now, the issue, saturated fats, again, are not bad for you. They're only bad in the presence of, high blood sugar and, a high carbohydrate diet. So essentially, like, cheese isn't bad for you. It's the idea that you don't want to have too much saturated fat on the keto diet. You want to mix up the fats and also have monounsaturated fats as well. So if you try to do the keto diet by just having eggs and cheese, aside from the fact that you might get backed up, it's not going to be good, for your blood lipid profiles, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
What are some of the monounsaturated fats that you would go after?
Okay, so avocados have monounsaturated fats. A lot of the nuts have a mixture. So walnuts have monounsaturated fats. Almonds have monounsaturated fats. A lot of these foods have a mixture of the fats. But, olive oil, that's monounsaturated fats. So everything that you consume typically is going to have a mixture unless it's pure saturated fat. So like butter, cheese, those will typically be just saturated fat. Coconut oil, just saturated fat. But monounsaturated fats are going to be more oils. Essentially, the rule of thumb is going to be if something's liquid at room temperature, then it's not saturated fat. If it's solid at room temperature, it's saturated fat.
All right. So you can't have like I can't believe it's butter, not butter.
Yeah.
Margarine, whatever it is.
Yeah, those are just bad in general. Those are hydrogenated
healthy for
oils,
you.
not healthy.
All right. So how about this? We go to the gym, we work out, we get this really great workout in, and now I want to have a protein shake. Is that okay?
Yeah, so you had to be careful. I mean, ultimately, your body's in a catabolic state after a workout. You want to wait an hour until you're done to have your quote-unquote post-workout shake. But with that post-workout shake, yeah, you want to have protein. You could also even have, berries, something like that. This is your opportunity where your body is trying to go from catabolic to anabolic. So whatever you consume then, that's going to be utilized by your muscles and ultimately to try to replenish that muscular glycogen that your body just burned through.
Awesome. Now, is it
Yeah, so
after the workout?
Yeah, so after the workout,
No fat.
look, ultimately you can have a meal It all depends. Like for the average person who's not trying to be a bodybuilder, yeah, an hour after your workout, have a meal. So you could have a keto meal. But ultimately, if you said like, I'm a bodybuilder, yeah, you would have a protein shake, an hour after your workout.
Is there any particular protein shake that you would recommend, like a brand? I know we're giving another plug here, but
yeah, I mean, again, you want to try
the
to
money
stay
coming in
as
for all this?
natural as possible. The one that I like is True Athlete. I get that at Vitamin Shop. It has like 5 ingredients in it. So that's a really good brand that I could vouch for.
so it's low carbs.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has 2 grams of carbs, 1 gram of fiber. So it's like
probably
1
no
gram
sugar,
net
right?
carb.
Like one.
Yeah,
maybe 1 gram of
if
sugar.
it has it, it's probably 1
what's it
gram.
called
but
again?
it's True Athlete.
True Athlete.
True Athlete. So they make strawberry, vanilla, chocolate protein. So
Okay.
yeah.
And then how about, just real quick, this is not on the keto thing, I guess, but how about like a pre-workout supplement or something to take before you work out? What do you recommend?
Sure. I mean, one of the challenges with the ketogenic diet is before you work out, you want to have something in your system, or else you'll feel that keto flu, that bonk during your workout. So I've done one of 2 things. I've used powdered MCT oil. MCT stands for medium chain triglyceride. That essentially is what like coconut oil is, medium chain triglycerides. So those are slower release. So you can get powdered MCT oil and do a little whey protein. So if you do 10 grams of each pre-workout, you'll have an amazing workout. There's also those keto salts. I've used a product called Keto Aminos, which is ketogenic salts and a little bit of protein, and that'll help push you through your workout. Because the biggest issue is if you're going to do a legit workout, an anaerobic, muscle training, hardcore workout, if you go in without anything pre-workout and you're keto, your body just doesn't have those blood sugars and carbohydrates to run off of and that glycogen to run off of, and you're going to have a rough time. Yeah, you're going to have a rough time.
Good to know.
I use those keto aminos. They're awesome by BPI. Those are awesome. All right, so one more question, and then we'll wrap up. It's tough to say one more question because this has loads. There's no doubt about it. Intermittent fasting is really, really popular these days. And I was just talking to Lori yesterday because I said, let me give this a shot, which is very difficult for me because I love breakfast. I wake up hungry every day. That's me. So for the past couple of days, I've been trying intermittent fasting. And it's cool. I break through, and then, believe it or not, then I'm like, wow, I'm not even that hungry. And it's already 12 o'clock. So my question is, if I'm keto, and I want to go to the gym in the morning. Now, this goes right back to what you said. You got to have a little something in your stomach. Did it really break my fast if I go to the gym right away? And is it really not worth doing intermittent fasting if you have to work out in the morning?
Yeah, so intermittent fasting is really the concept of doing like 12 to 18 hours without food. So you start it typically the night before. So let's say you eat dinner and you don't have anything else. So let's say 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and then you don't consume anything until perhaps maybe 10 to 12 the next day. When you have that workout in the morning and you're doing intermittent fasting, assuming that you're in ketosis, you're going to have a very, very difficult time getting through that workout, especially an anaerobic workout. It's going to be brutal. So even in that instance, I would still recommend having the Keto Aminos, BPI. That's, I think, 20 or 40 calories in a scoop or 2 scoops, whatever the serving is. That's not going to be so much that it's going to like blow you out.
And mix it with what?
Yeah, mix it with water. Yeah, always mix it with water. But that's going to be something that'll get you to be able to function. You'll be functioning off of the keto salts, and there's like a very, very small amount of amino acids in there. That'll be good, and you'll still be technically intermittent fasting. But ultimately, you're breaking your fast because post-workout, an hour later, you want to replenish your body. You want to have some protein. So the intermittent fasting's all relative, and you have to work it with your schedule. If you're going to work out first thing in the morning, you're not going to really be able to do that intermittent fasting. You maybe do it on your off days. But again, you have to be really careful about trying to do like too many hacks, because you're going to alter your metabolism. And what's going to happen is if you don't get enough calories, now your metabolism decreases that much more, and you're going to, actually sabotage your results, even though you're trying to amplify them. Yeah.
All right, so we want to wrap up, but Ken, boatloads of information here.
I think
would
we're gonna have to have a
assume-
second
We have to. We have
podcast
to have a
here with him
follow-up.
on.
You're gonna be at one of our eating events, so we'll make sure it's on one of our carb days. So consider yourself a
Keeping an
future
eye on
guest.
Can't have that. You can have that. Okay.
I imagine a ton of people
No wine.
listening to this. Yes, come on, Joe. I'd imagine a ton of people listening to this are going to have questions for you. So you're a certified strength specialist, strength and conditioning specialist. Why do I trip over that so much? Right? It is, right? CSCS. Let me just try that, right? CSCS. It's easier. All right. So why don't you give everybody some point of contact for you, so that A, if they had questions about keto, they could reach out and touch base with you. B, maybe somebody is looking for, a trainer of some sort, right? If you've got those certifications, maybe somebody out there needs to know how to invest their money. They can go to you as well. Lots of options here. So give them a point of reference on how to contact you.
Sure. Yeah, they could reach me at ken@unstoppablestrength.com. So that's a website that I have. It's kind of defunct in terms of like keeping up on the up and up with it, but that would be the best way to get in contact with me in terms of questions on this or training, what have you. So it's ken@unstoppablestrength.com.
And we'll have our producer Alex list that on the on the information on our site.
Beautiful, beautiful. So Ken, thank you very much, brother. It's been a pleasure tonight. This just about concludes our show, but we've got to bring another wow. Next week's word of the week. I'm going to spell it out for you, and of course, Joey will say it next week. So before I spell it out, I'm going to call out Pastor Ryan Batesel from our church, Emergence, in Totowa. So Pastor Ryan says this word a lot. And Rye, you need to change the way you say it. I've actually
If you're
had
from Jersey, you can't say it the way he says it.
You know what? I don't know what it is. He's from Jersey, but he was indoctrinated somehow because he doesn't sound straight up Jersey, right? It's okay, right? We love you, so don't mislead this in any way, shape, or form. But I've actually had to grab Joe by his belt, because he was already in a 3-point stance getting ready to tackle Ryan when he says this word again. So you got to say it right. Otherwise, I'm going to release him.
Because he says it often.
He does. So, Ryan, this one's for you. The word is LAUNCH. How do you say it? Pastor Ryan might be a phone guest on the next show, maybe, and we'll have him say it. I don't know, but that's next week's Word of the Week. This concludes episode 14 of The Jersey Boys. I'm Ronnie A.
I'm Joey the Rash.
I'm out.
Ciao. Love you, Dad.